Okay, well, first thing I did was I saw Paranormal Activity 2. And if you are aware of my first review, I really, really liked the first one. For those of you guys who are keeping score and say I don't like anything, mark that one on the good column. Really liked Paranormal Activity. And so, as a result, I have no idea how much I'm going to repeat myself with the previous one. And I'm going to avoid spoilers up to a point, and then I'm going to tell you the spoilers. I'm going to warn you, and then we're going to do it. So, I really liked Paranormal Activity 2. Not as much as the first one, but I still thought it was one of the more effective horror movies of the year. And it's... the series really is representative of the very best of the quote-unquote found footage type of movie. You know, of course everyone brings up Blair Witch, but I just saw the Poughkeepsie tapes not long ago. But that kind of movie. The very worst. There's a lot of bad found footage tapes nowadays. I'm thinking of Quarantine, mainly. A really bad example of that kind of movie. But how do I recommend this movie? Once again, objectively, here's how I would put it. If this looks like a good movie to you, you'll like it. Really, that's it. I mean, you know exactly what you're getting into, especially if you saw the first one. This doesn't pull a Blair Witch 2, where it becomes more of a standard movie instead of a found footage movie. It really is. It's more of the same, and it's almost... It really is same shit, different day. You know, same shit, different house. But how does it compare to the first one? Well, I'm trying to avoid spoilers here, so how do I describe it? Okay. In terms of effectiveness, in terms of... like, once again, if you don't find this shit scary, like if you don't find the sound of creaking and you don't find the notion of doors blowing shut or things you can't see happening in the dark you can't see to people you can't really see, I'm not going to convince you that it's good. You know, I'm not going to say... If you don't find them scary, you don't find it scary. You know, for the same reason that I never really found Jason Voorhees all that scary. You know, I never really had a fear of a hockey-masked, machete-wielding maniac kicking in my door. I just... never really struck me. I never really had a fear of sexually androgynous girls at sleepaway camp stabbing me, or running me over with a motorboat. You know, just... I'm sure it shocks some people, but, you know, in terms of legitimate fears, okay. But, you know, fear of the dark, fear of strange noises in the house, and the ability to suspend your disbelief. If you're able to do that, this is going to be a really awesome ride. And pretty much everyone in the theater was, you know, that type of people who are like legitimately gasping in shock. And it's not always... I hesitate to call the scares cheap, because it is a lot of really sudden movements and violent actions occurring to people out of nowhere. You know, doors, like I said, doors blowing open. But really, I do think that this movie earns those scares more than many others, because it creates a dreadful atmosphere, an atmosphere of bad things are going to happen, and there's no escape from this, and you're going to get fucked by this thing, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's legitimate stuff that, if it were to happen in your house, and this is the sort of stuff, like, you know, especially the build-up to this, where you hear footsteps, or you hear creaking, you know, floorboards, or sounds that could easily be the house settling, and yet they go on too long, or they're a little bit too loud. Doors that are slightly more open than when you left them. Rattling pots, that sort of thing. Actually, the pots, they really overspend their nickel on the pots, but I'll get to that. And I'm not saying this sort of shit happens. What I'm saying is, when you're alone in the house and it's really late at night and you hear this shit, it would fucking freak you out, especially when the shit starts happening in this movie. And so, I guess what I'm saying, to explain what I'm saying, is that when you have this sort of movie, the type of found footage movie, and they're really trying to push it as legitimate. You know, like, this is crazy shit we found, and this really happened. You buy it. I buy it. For a great deal of it. And it only works so long as they put on a show that feels legitimate. Like, as soon as there's any artifice, as soon as there's any artificial nature to any of it, that it seems like something that could easily be staged, or it seems like somebody's acting instead of actually scared. The second that it seems like something is too convenient, or there's a monster that leaps out, as soon as that happens, the movie takes a dive. And so, when judging the Paranormal Activity, the reason I say it's most effective is because it, more than any other movie since The Blair Witch, plays it straight, plays it authentic, and doesn't try to, and avoids the pitfalls of seeming too cinematic, seeming too artificial. And that is pretty much the entire review. You know, it's not perfect. I'm not claiming that it's any kind of masterpiece. What I'm saying is, it is the best example of the genre. And if that genre doesn't interest you in any way, you're not gonna like it. You know, that's the sort of, that's pretty much the review. Now, here's where I get into spoilers, and really, really unforgivable spoilers. So if you have any interest in the movie, I've given my seal of approval to it. Go see it. You'll like it. I promise you. Now, the reason I didn't like this movie as much as the first one is because there is a lot more of that artifice. There are things that occur in this movie that are necessary in terms of plot development, but when they happen, it seems like it's scripted. Okay. Where I really liked Paranormal Activity 1 was the fact that we didn't know what was happening. You know, there was this fucked up thing haunting the house. It was tormenting these people, and it basically possessed and caused Katie, the woman, to commit these horrible atrocities against her husband? I think husband. If not live-in boyfriend, but... So, and you didn't know why, because by its very nature, this thing was unknowable. It was a demon. It was evil. And for all we knew, it'd been haunting this family from the beginning just because it was fucked up. You know, it was a fucking demon, you know. It was like, that's what it does. And so, you know, when the credits rolled for Paranormal Activity, when that was over, you're like, my God, I have no idea why this thing was, but you were like, that was fucked up. You know, that was fucking scary. And, you know, like, the way the movie was presented, it goes, here's this footage, we don't know. Watch this shit. Like, it might have just had a little text like, you watch this shit, we don't know what the fuck happened here. Maybe you can figure it out, we don't. And so, that was the movie. And so, in this one, they actually do explain, or at least they hypothesize, as to why Katie, and by connection, the related family, I believe it's her sister. I think it's, actually I should have probably paid more attention to that score, but it really is Katie's sister, and their family starts to experience the same fucked up shit. And they, at some point, they start to explain why, or they start to guess why. And that's when it seems probably at its most artificial. You kind of start twiddling your thumbs and going, really? All right. At the same time, they do it well. And actually, I was kind of impressed with how well they managed to tie together these stories. I was actually impressed with it. And I say that like it's a good thing and a bad thing, because you'll have to excuse me because I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to understand it myself. From a found footage point of view, it seems artificial. But in terms of creating the mythology of the story, in terms of telling a story, it works. It really does. And they explain it by saying, well, there's a reason that this demon has been haunting this family, and in particular, this new family, the sister. And it seems to take a real interest in their child, their baby named Hunter. And they have to explain, well, the teenage daughter starts to actually put it together. And, of course, goes to this website that knows everything about demon possession or demon haunting, and starts to guess that it's because at some point someone in the family made a bargain with otherworldly forces, and the subject of that bargain was the firstborn male child. And that's about as much as I'll say to it, but the fact that they were able, like, the teenage daughter in particular starts to almost immediately put this together, where it's like weird shit starts happening in the house, and she just Googles it. And she's looking at the computer going, oh my God, read this paragraph. Read it. And they go, they're like, a demon with an underworldly pact, Satan worshippers, bargains for wealth and power, firstborn male heir. And she's like, you think that's what's happening? And her boyfriend's like, I don't know. Could be. And she's like, that's what's happening. And I'm like, no, come on. You wouldn't have figured this shit out. I wouldn't have. And so, like, that's what I mean is, the way, in terms of storyline structure, it works. It's an explanation, and it's a good one. In terms of found footage, I don't know. There's other stuff that goes on that is overly artificial, and it's actually where it's pretty much the exact same stuff that people cited when they said that Paranormal Activity 1 was so good up until the ending. An ending I really liked, by the way, but at the same time admit that it's cinematic. And if you don't know what I mean the everything is really mysterious, it's all really authentic, and then all of a sudden Mika gets fucking hurled across the room ass first into the camera, and then Katie demon faces like does that thing where she freaks out into the camera and her face all kind of distorts into demon, and you're like, okay, thanks Nightmare on Elm Street, thank you Freddy Krueger, way to ruin the goodwill you built up to that one. But I liked it because I felt the movie kind of earned that moment. It through all this shit, we're like, well, we're gonna see, we aren't seeing shit, we're not seeing nothing. That was your money shot. That was it. That was, you're like, oh my God, you got me. Okay, she's a fucking demon. Okay. The third act is pretty much all that, where this actually takes place, I think, over the course of Jesus. The main haunting takes place over the course of about a month. It's a long time. These guys put up with this shit for a while. And so when things finally start getting weird, the guy is very skeptical, as anyone would be. All this this kind of nuisance things start happening, and a lot of it is some of it works, some of it doesn't. Where the pool filter keeps the pool vacuum, whatever it is, a little robot that keeps running around the bottom of the pool. For some reason, it keeps ending up on the patio when every morning, and they're like, what the fuck is that happening? And so, at some point, the house gets ransacked early on, actually. Like I said, this is actually very effective, because at some point they have to explain why they have cameras all over the fucking house. And it's because basically their house gets, immediately at the beginning of the movie, torn to shreds. Like a gang went through that place and just fucking destroyed everything. Flipped the furniture, tore the fucking paintings off the wall, smashed the TV, ripped everything up. And so they're like, fuck. Man, we gotta install some fucking cameras in this place. That's fucked up. And so they do. And so I actually liked the way that, every night, and there's a lot more of the nighttime footage, because there's probably a lot more to cover, and I liked how they did this. They kind of had a routine to where they start off with a shot of the outside, looking at the pool. Then they start with a shot of the outside, looking at the front door, to kind of establish that nobody's getting in. And then they go to, it usually cuts to either the kitchen or the baby's room. And they kind of have this routine, and I'm like, I kind of like that. It lends credence to the found footage type thing, where they kind of go, okay, here's the first thing, here's the second thing, and here's where the weird stuff happens. And so I thought that was cool. I'm trying to I won't ruin the scares for you, but you know they're good. And where it gets weird is this is where it really started getting good, honestly, was because one of the best actors in this movie is the dog. And that's not a slam on the other actors in this movie. The dog is awesome in this flick. I have no idea how they managed to turn performances from this dog to where, like, they're doing weird shit around this dog, and it's, like, reacting. You know, in the way you'd think a dog would. Like, it's not looking at a trainer. It's not looking at the cameras. It's like a door starts blowing open. The dog starts like, what the fuck is that? And, like, the door keeps swinging open, and the dog starts, like, getting its hackles up and, like, backing away, like, and, like, back. And also in the door slams, the dog's like, Jesus Christ! Jesus Christ! And starts, like, running out the door and barking and starting to, like, wake everyone up. It runs to the other rooms and, like, it's like, wake up, there's fucking weird shit going on in here. And, like, the dog's running downstairs and like, it hears a noise downstairs and, like, another night, it hears a noise downstairs and the dog's like, what the fuck was that? And, it, like, you kind of hear it perk its ears up and it listens and it's like, what the fuck was that? And it cuts to a camera and the dog's kind of creeping down the stairs, looking around. And, like, the TV comes on, the dog's like, oh, shit, the fuck was that? And, like, I'm kind of, I'm projecting my own thoughts on this dog, but that's how much the dog was emoting. It was awesome. And so, at some point, you actually really grow to like this dog, because it's, like, protecting the child, you know? They put the dog in the room, because they're like, nothing's getting in here. This fucking dog's gonna deal with it. And this is big, it's like a German Shepherd, you know? So the dog is, like, looking out for this kid, and you really grow to like this thing. The dog's name is Abby. So there's a point in this movie where the dog actually does battle with whatever it is that's haunting this house. I'm serious, and it's really good. Like, you hear it barking, and it follows whatever it is. Like, the basement door, like, fucking blows open, and the dog's like, Jesus Christ! And so it follows it, and you hear it, like, wrestling with something or fighting. Or, like, scared shitless, really. And then, all of a sudden, the dog, like, gets fucking, like, picked up and hurled across the room. And, like, thrown off camera. And you hear it go, like, oh! And you're like, oh, no! The dog! It fucking killed the dog! Ah! And right there, that movie owns you. Like, that was good. The fact, like, they work with children and animals in this movie. They have the best dog ever. And then they hurt the dog. And you're like, from that moment on, you're like, fuck this demon. I hope they fucking kill it. Because I love that dog. I really do. I want a dog just like that. Well, not dead, but, you know, a nice, protective, really smart dog that has a really emotive face, you know? It's a great dog. The dog, well, I won't spoil what happens to the dog. It doesn't... The dog is injured, let's say, and the family is woken up by the sounds of the dog wrestling with the fucking demon, and they wake up and they're like, oh my god, Abby! And they have to take Abby to the vet, you know, like, because Abby's fucking hurt. And you're like... what's your name is on the phone and checking on the dog, and I'm like, is the dog okay? I'm such a wuss. Oh, but yeah, it was good. You know, that when it builds scares like that and it hurts someone that you actually kind of really like, and it's amazing that the movie was crafted so well that you grew to care about this dog, probably more than any of the other characters. You know, that was well played. And that actually took some doing. But okay. Like I said, the third act is where I kind of felt that it got fakey. And by that I mean, at some point, it had to escalate. You know, of course it escalated after the dog. Because they look at the footage and something fucking fights this dog. And it hurts it. And they're like, what the fuck? Look, this is real now. You know, this is fucked up shit. And so they start to get scared, and things start happening during the day. You know, people start getting locked out of the house and the doors are blowing shut. They know something's up. And so this is where I really hated it. At the beginning of the movie, they have a housekeeper, and I forget her name. She's like a Hispanic Latina housekeeper who, of course, barely speaks any English. And she knows something's up right away. Like, shit even hasn't even started to happen yet. Like, the pool light goes out, or like a pan falls off the fucking hanging rack. And you knew that, like, you knew when you see the kitchen and you see that rack of hanging pans, you knew that was gonna, like, be the centerpiece of that movie. Like, that's... I would never have a rack of hanging pans. I don't even believe in ghosts, and I wouldn't have a rack of hanging pans, because I know, like, you're gonna walk by and all and their fucking pans rattling. Like, I don't know why, after, like, the fucking pan falls off the hook, like, 3 times, and then, like, all hell starts to break loose, and, like, just the pans start to fucking rattle and blow off the wall. Dude, after the first time those fucking pans fall off the hook, I'm taking them down. Fuck that shit. Like, I know other stuff's gonna happen, but it's not gonna be the pans. I'm not gonna have the fucking ghost throwing the fucking skillet at me. No. So, man, fuck the pans. The housekeeper starts to know something's up, like, right away. And so, as soon as the shit starts to go down, you see her kind of listening to stuff. And she's like, she starts to cross herself, and she starts to, like, pray over stuff in the mantle. And then, when stuff starts getting really bad, like, when she's the only one awake at night, and she sees something, like, creeping out the window, she, like, looks out the window, there's something there, you know? And, like a window will blow open, and she's like, what the fuck? Immediately, she knows what to do. She, like, of course she does, because Hispanic people are very religious, you know. They're tuned in spiritually. They're way more spiritually tuned in than us white people. And so when the demon starts to rear his ugly head, she starts whipping out incense, and she starts burning shit, and she starts, like, doing the voodoo thing. I hesitate to call it, like, any kind of Catholic thing, because, like, she's burning candles. She's like shaking chickens, and she's, like, going up to the windows and, like, spitting on the windows and, like, praying. She's like, oh, sweet Jesus, protect us from the demons. And, like, the family comes home, and she's, like, fucking waving incense around, and they're like, the fuck are you doing? And she's like, there's a demon in this. She's like, Señor, el diablo es aquí. And they're like, uh-huh. And she's like, no, señor, está diablo. Or like, yo tengo el diablo aquí. And she's like, uh-huh, yo quiero Taco Bell. Take your fucking Diablo out the fucking window. And, like, she's like, go get us some fucking tacos, Lupita. And they kick her out. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, they really are, like, that dismissive of her. Because, of course, in movies like this, there's always a wise Latino woman, or someone who's like in Shyamalan's Devil, where there's that wise Hispanic security guard who's like, I know what this is. My grandmother, she told me a legend about El Diablo. And El Diablo would haunt you in elevators and choose those who are willing to go to hell. Like, that must be the housekeeper must be the same lady who told the guy from Devil about the devil, because she knows everything. And so, early on in the movie, like, she's fucking setting the house on fire, waving the incense around, and they fire her. Because she's fucking crazy, right? And so, at some point, like, the wife gets, like, fucking dragged down the stairs like fucking Ghostbusters, you know, like she's picking up the baby and like weird stuff's about to happen. She's freaked out. And then all of a sudden, like in the first Paranormal Activity, like something like just fucking grabs her by the ankle and starts to drag her through the house and like slamming her against walls, and she's hanging onto the fucking stairway going, ah! And it's like pulling and pulling, and she gets away, and all of a sudden it grabs her by the throat. She's like, ah! You know, and it pulls her into the basement. And she starts acting weird, like Katie did at the end of the first movie. And so the guy sees that she's acting weird and watches the tape and sees, like, that this is a fucking demon, you know? Like, there's no The other stuff was like, oh, the door blew shut. Ooh, scary. That must the wind, you know. And so the pool thing gets out. It's like, oh, the pool thing gets out all the time. Who cares? But after the dog and after he sees the lady getting pulled all over, it's like, this is fucked up. And so he gets on the phone. He's whipping through his Rolodex. He's going through, and he's like, and the daughter's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I need to call Lupita. She tried to warn me this would happen. And of course, like, he dials her up, and she comes right down with her demon busting kit. You know, she has like this crate. She has like a toolbox. You know, she opens it up, and she gets this big fucking like rosewood cross, and she starts dumping olive oil all over it. And she's like, this will repel the demon. And he's like, really? And she's like, yeah. And so but she knows how to do this. Like, if you're ever in trouble, if there's a ghost in your house, just ask your Latina housekeeper, because Hispanic people know about this shit. Know more about this shit, by the way, than the professional demonologist who they consult in the first meeting. No, fuck that. Middle-aged Hispanic housekeeper. That'll bust your ghost right there. So, that part to me was... I knew right away. Honestly, I knew as soon as we saw her, like, kind of cooking stuff in the kitchen, and all of a sudden they kind of cut to the camera, and she's, like, got her head cocked to one side, and I'm like, oh, we're not really doing this, are we? We're not going we're not doing the wise Yoda-like shamanistic Latina lady, are we? And yeah, we are. And so... But at the same time, it's well done. And so there comes a point where the guy basically does unholy battle with his own wife, who is now possessed by the demon. And I really wish they hadn't done this, by the way. The last act of the movie, she starts to freak out. She's basically possessed by the demon. You know, she's going to claim this kid's soul. And so... She's basically like all demon-faced, and she's like running around and fucking strangling people and biting them and stuff like that. And so she runs into the basement. Of course, there's a scene where the power goes out, and that was good. I like actually when the power went out. But of course, we had to have a scene with a night vision camera going down the stairs into the basement, just like all these movies end. And I have expected them to like get to the foot of the stairs and turn around, and there's Josh standing in the corner. And then the camera drops. And sure enough, that's pretty much what happens. Like, he goes to the bottom of the stairs, he turns around, and there's the kid staring at him like an alien. And then he's like, oh, fuck! And he falls over, and the camera's, like, laying there. And I'm like, oh, come on! And again, even though I was kind of frustrated with it, and even though it was very cinematic in style, I kind of liked it. You know, this is the exact same thing I think a lot of people are going to point to and just go, God, this movie was balls. Again, I think this is entirely a measure of how much under its spell you're willing to go. You know, how much into this shit you're willing to buy. Because, again, I keep saying again, I think at some level it earns that. You know, it starts off pretty straight up, you know, straight-laced, to where it really does ramp the tension and the dread up until it reaches basically a boil. And then it boils for so long, and then boom, and then it just erupts like all hell literally breaks loose, you know. It's fucked up shit goes on in that house, man. And honestly, my biggest complaint is not that it's cinematic, you know, in terms of artifice. I think it actually moves too fast. In the sense that when she gets bitten by the demon and kind of possessed, and she's freaking out just like Katie did, there's a moment, it moves too fast. Basically, it goes right from that to the fact that he's wrestling her in, like, Mortal Kombat, you know. He's trying to, like, exorcise her. I really think we could have maybe spent 10, 15 minutes really stewing on that, where she's acting weird. She's acting all, not demonic, but unearthly, like, distant, where she's staring straight ahead and she's kind of freaking people out. And they do that for, like, a minute, where the daughter, she's the only one home, and she starts to see, like, the mother is kind of like staring out windows, or like kind of spread out in a chair, just kind of like staring straight ahead, going like. And I was like, that was really good, because you don't know what the fuck she's capable of at this point, you know. And then they just go right from that to where the husband comes home, and they're like, we got to call the housekeeper, and then they get a cross ready, and then shit comes out, you know. I really thought you could have really gone on a lot longer and really milked some genuine suspense out of that scene. That was my only complaint, was it really did go too fast, where we went from, oh, she's possessed, but is she? What's going on with her? To, outright hell! You know, and I really think when the DVD comes out, I think that'll be the first thing that is kind of reintroduced, if they ever include new footage in, where I really think they cut it for time or some kind of theatrical convenience. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you see it, you'll see what I mean. And I am entirely sure that people are going to really disagree with me on this one. And I think people are really going to hate this movie. I think even fans of the first one might easily walk out of this one saying, like, that was too much. You know, it was they went too far with this one. It's hard to say whether or not I'm glad they kind of ramped it up, because if they made it just the same, I would have been like, even now I just described it as same shit, different day. But it does ramp up, you know. It does give you answers. It does really escalate the scope and the violence of what this thing is capable of, and I think it really does pose some new scares, but it does recycle some old scares, which I don't think really work. For instance, there's a scene where in the first one where she's like, she shrieks and it's just a spider in the bathroom. Of course, there's a scene in this one where the daughter shrieks and it's somebody left a floater in the toilet. You're like, all right, whatever. What was the other one? They really do blatantly recycle another one. Oh, now I can't remember what it was, but they repeat another scare, which I thought was kind of hammy. Fuck, what was it? I don't know, but I think by and large, it was a lesser movie, but I still think it was. If you like the first one, you like this one. What was I gonna say? Damn it. Oh, I know what it was. Another real problem I had was the ending, but for not the reasons you'd think. It turns out, ultimate spoiler here, by the way, it turns out this movie is actually a prequel, where they are the family that is haunted first, and they actually survive it. Where when the husband basically fights the demon, and he actually manages to defeat the demon with his olive oil soaked cross. I don't know how that works, but he does it, and so there's a scene right before that where he's like, "I gotta do this. I gotta fight this thing," and she's like, "But you don't even know if it's gonna work." And she's like, "But this is where I kind of lost it too." By the way, I kind of lost the thread of the narrative because they were all yelling over each other. I'm not sure I fully understood it, but he's like, if we drive it out, it'll go somewhere else, and I'm not going to have this happen to my family. Like, we have to get it, like, if I drive it out of her, it'll never come back, but it'll go somewhere else, but that's not my problem. And I'm like, what? Huh? And so he drives the demon out, and he lays her to bed, and then he has an argument with the daughter. She's like, we have to tell somebody. We have to show people this. And he's like, no, we're not going to tell nobody nothing. I mean nothing. We're never going to talk about this shit again. And I mean, like, never. And he'll be like, if what Rosalita says is true, when we drive this demon out, she's not going to remember anything that happened. And we're not going to tell her. Because she can't know this. Nobody can know this. And she just goes, yeah, you're right. Okay. No, fuck you. Fuck you. No. If that shit was happening in my house, I'd fucking tell everybody. I'd have this on fucking YouTube. Man, I'd make a movie. You know? But the daughter's like, oh, you're right. We can't tell nobody about this. Fuck you, man. I'm telling everybody. Fuck that, man. I'd be on fucking 60 Minutes with that shit. Oh man, they're like, no, we. So of course they don't tell anybody, and then Katie from the first movie is like, so is everything okay with you guys? Like nothing weird's happening anymore, and of course the sister doesn't remember, so she's like, no, nothing, it's nothing, and like of course the husband don't say shit, even though he really should. Like, hey Mika. Mika, I know, like, you're gonna think I'm crazy, Mika, but in the event that your wife becomes a demon, take a wooden cross and soak it in olive oil and then shove it up her ass, and that'll get the demon out. And Mika would be like, what? And the guy should just be like, I know, it's a joke, I know, but just remember I said that. Bye. Just like, he could have brought that shit up, like, at any time, you know? If I went up to you and was like, okay, if I just made a video where I was like, okay guys, something weird happened to me last night, and if I told you your dog started talking to you to throw a lemon at it, just do it. You'd be like, the fuck is Spoony talking about? This is a joke. I'd be like, yeah, it's a joke. But seriously, do it. And I left. You'd be like, that was weird. Huh. I think Spoony's losing his mind. And then that'd be the last you'd think of it. But as soon as your dog started talking to you, you'd be like, I better throw a lemon at this fucking dog. you really would. So, like, I just found it funny, like, Mika, poor bastard. Poor Mika. Like, his wife starts freaking out. He don't know why. Like, it's because, of course, the fucking idiot didn't see fit to say nothing. So, at the end, Katie shows up, and by the way, the trailers really spoiled the shit out of that. Katie shows up and basically does the Steven Seagal neck snap on the husband, and does a mafia punch in the stomach with the fury of 1,000 hellfires, and basically reenacts the ass into the camera, and that was it. So canonically, the jump scare ending was the canonical one, and not the throat slashing ending, which a lot of people prefer. Honestly, there were 3 endings: was the jump scare, the throat slash, and the police ending. I think a lot of people prefer the police ending and the throat slash. They are like anything but the jump scare one. But yeah, the jump scare one is canonical. It had to be, because that was the theatrical version. There's no way they could be like, oh yeah, that she's alive, because the ending we showed in the theaters was bullshit. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I've got to talk about Impact now. God. So until next time, I have no idea how long I've rambled on. At least 45 minutes. Anyway, yeah, check it out. Happy Halloween, guys.